The Disappearance of Rebecca Reusch, 2019. Who was Rebecca? In February of 2019, the city of Berlin, Germany, was in the middle of an ordinary winter. Life carried on as usual in its bustling neighborhoods, the rhythm of daily routines uninterrupted. But for the Reusch family, February 18th would forever be remembered as the day their youngest daughter, Rebecca Reusch, vanished without a trace. Rebecca, affectionately called Betchy by friends and family, was only 15 years old. She was a bright, energetic, and vibrant teenager who loved fashion, social media, and spending time with her friends. Her Instagram page was filled with the colorful snapshots of teenage life, selfies, school outings, and dreams of becoming a model or fashion designer. She was the youngest of 3 sisters, adored by her parents and described by her father as our sunshine. Rebecca was outgoing, bubbly, and full of plans of future. She wanted to travel. She wanted to fall in love. And like any 15-year-old, she was just beginning to carve her place in the world. On February 17th, 2019, Rebecca spent the night at her sister Jessica's house in Berlin. It was a normal evening. The family watched television. Rebecca chatted online with her friends, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She went to bed late, excited to see her friends at school the next day. But Rebecca would never arrive at school the following morning. And from that moment on, she was gone. The day she disappeared. A minute-by-minute reconstruction. Morning comes quietly to the south of Brits, a residential pocket of Berlin's Neukölln district. Low roofs, hedge gardens, buses starting their first rounds, winter light slipping through bare branches. It is Monday, February 18th, 2019, a school day with a twist, a late start at Rebecca's school, the Walter Gropius Schule in nearby Gropiusstadt. That small schedule change will matter later. It meant there was no rush at dawn. Rebecca, 15, had slept on the couch at her eldest sister's home after a normal Sunday evening of TV and chatting online. She expected to head to class later in the morning. 5:45, a return, a sleeping house. Sometime before sunrise, the house is still. The brother-in-law returns from a collie party at about 5:45 and goes to bed. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just footsteps, a door, silence again. A few hours of sleep would bridge the long night out. In another room, the sister's child is asleep. In the living room, Rebecca is on a couch under a distinctive purple blanket that later becomes important. 07:00. The sister leaves for work. At 7 o'clock, Rebecca's sister leaves with her daughter for work and school. The brother-in-law remains in the house. He will later tell police he went back to sleep after returning at 5:45. At this point, Rebecca has no hard deadline because of that late school start. The house is quiet again. Wikipedia. 7:15, a call that hits voicemail. Rebecca's mother tries calling her at 7:15, straight to voicemail. It's not a red flag yet. Teenagers miss calls all the time. But the call becomes a time peg later, a small data point in a morning crowded with questions. Wikipedia. 7 to 7:46, the Snapchat and the Wi-Fi ping. Sometime between 7 o'clock and 7:46, Rebecca sends a Snapchat photo to a friend. When that friend opens at 8:15, the picture shows Rebecca standing in a hallway, wearing a BTS hoodie, front label BTS, back Rap Monster, a pink plush jacket, ripped jeans, and black and white Vans. Crucially, her phone is last logged into home Wi-Fi at 7:46, a digital breadcrumb that anchors her device, and presumably her, still at the house at that minute. Because Snapchat disappears after viewing, the exact capture minute is unknown. The 7:46 Wi-Fi log is firmer ground. Wikipedia. 8:25, another call, another voicemail. At 8:25, the mother calls again. Voicemail. 2 calls, both unanswered. Alone, that's ordinary. With what comes next, it becomes ominous. The outfit, the missing items, and the blanket that isn't there. When the family later takes stock, several items are missing with Rebecca. The outfit seen in the Snapchat, BTS hoodie, pink plush jacket, jeans, Vans, a Vans backpack, a pink handbag, a purse with MK, initials, her mobile phone, and a pink Fujifilm Instax Mini 9 instant camera. Also missing from the sister's home, that purple blanket. If Rebecca did leave the house alive that morning, she may have taken along an odd choice unless she was cold, carrying something inside it, or expecting a trip longer than a short bus ride. 9:40, a seat left empty at school. 9:40, the late start begins at Walter Gropius Schule. Rebecca doesn't arrive. Teachers mark an absence. Friends trade messages. Hours pass. In the afternoon, when she still has a return home, her parents report her missing. Within days, police elevate the case from a routine teenage absence to a potential homicide investigation. What the data says and what it doesn't. The phone. The 746 home network log places a phone at the house at that time. Whether the phone and Rebecca later left together is unknown. The handset never pings a new network again. Investigators will later stress a difficult, unsettling belief. They do not think Rebecca left the house alive, a position repeated more than once in reporting over the years. The outfit, the specific clothing list, BTS, rap monster, hoodie, pink plush jacket, ripped jeans, black and white Vans, comes directly from the Snapchat image description given to police. Those details permeated posters and broadcasts, not just as fashion but as a visual last scene. The blanket. Why would a teenager carry a purple blanket out of a house on a dry, cold morning? One witness later claimed seeing a girl with a blanket outside in late morning. Investigators compared that claim to weather records, which showed dry conditions the day before, undermining the idea of a damp picnic. Remember, witness memory is fragile. Investigators weighed against data. The route that never appears on camera. If Rebecca left for school, the path from South Brits to Gropiusstad is simple, a short bus or U-Bahn hop through Nukon's grid. Witnesses later said they thought they saw her at a bus stop or on the 171 bus, but CCTV checks near those stops did not confirm those sightings. In the age of cameras, absence of image can be as loud as presence. The brother-in-law's mourning, the car, the clocks, and the questions. From the very first week, investigators focus on the only adult known to be in the house after the sister left, the brother-in-law. Two things keep bringing them back to him. He was there when her phone last pinged the home Wi-Fi at 7:46. His car movements, captured later on traffic systems, don't line up cleanly with an ordinary morning. The driveway video controversy. Years later, journalists handed prosecutors a surveillance clip, said, to show the brother-in-law's raspberry red Renault Twingo leaving near 7:24 and returning roughly 46 minutes later. Prosecutors examined it and said it added no new findings to the case. Later reporting suggested the timestamp itself might have been off, with one outlet saying the car time was closer to 8:36, not 7:24, injecting uncertainty into the timeline. The bottom line, a car did move that morning. The precise minute remains contested in media discussion and has not produced a breakthrough. The A12 Autobahn toward Poland. Beyond the neighborhood clip, traffic and toll imagery linked his car to the A12 Autobahn, eastbound toward Frankfurt Oder on the Polish border, on two occasions, the morning of February 18th and again late on February 19th. He gave no clear reason for those trips. That eastward route became a major axis for searches of forests and lakes in Brandenburg. Kummersdorf sighting and horse trail encounter. A witness reported a raspberry red Twingo in a wooded area near Kummersdorf on the 18th, and two horseback riders described an odd man there around midday. Police scoured those woods. Nothing conclusive emerged. Balance scale important. The brother-in-law has not been convicted. He was arrested twice and released both times for lack of evidence. In Germany's system, the presumption of innocence stands. Investigators say he remains the main suspect, but the case has no charges proven in court. This part of the story must stay carefully factual. The local Germany. The weather window, what the morning felt like. Mid-February in Berlin is usually hard winter. Not this week. February 18th, 2019 was unseasonably mild for the afternoon, high around 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degrees Fahrenheit, with a frosty pre-dawn low near -1 degree Celsius, 30 degrees Fahrenheit and no precipitation. A day that started cold and warmed quickly under thin light. If Rebecca intended a normal commute, a hoodie plus jacket made sense. If she expected much time outdoors, carrying a blanket would be unusual. Extreme weather watch. Noon and after, the silence grows. By late morning, teachers have already marked Rebecca absent. Friends expect messages that don't arrive. Family calls roll to voicemail. As the day dissolves into evening and then night, a new reality begins. No one has seen Rebecca since that Snapchat captured a teenager in a hallway, at a time window now narrowed by a 746 Wi-Fi ping. What police did in the first weeks. February 18th, afternoon, parents report her missing. Immediate checks begin. February 21st, police publicly declare her missing, escalate resources, and canvass routes to school. February 23rd, the case moves to the homicide squad. Language in briefings shifts from runaway to potential crime. February 28th to March 22nd. The brother-in-law is arrested twice and released twice for lack of evidence. Early March. The lead investigator appears on ZDF's Aktenzichen XY Ungelast, shows images, and appeals for witnesses. Hundreds of tips pour in, later totaling thousands as the years pass. Theories that touch this specific morning. She left for school and vanished en route. For a teen with a late start could choose to leave after 7:46. Against, no confirming CCTV at stops on a likely route. Phone never reconnects anywhere else. An arranged meeting nearby. For the Snapchat outfit suggests she was dressed to go out. The INS tax camera and handbag were taken. Against, again, no camera confirmation, no phone data after 7:46. A crime inside the house. For police repeatedly state they don't believe she left the house alive. The brother-in-law is the only adult known inside after 7 o'clock. His car then makes unexplained trips, including east toward Poland. Against, there is no forensic evidence found sufficient to charge anyone, no body, no proved timeline that survives a courtroom test. A staged exit, phone left behind. 4. Explains the 746 Wi-Fi log while Rebecca departs without the phone. Against, she was rarely without her phone, took the camera and bags. Leaving only the device behind would be unusual for a 15-year-old unless she intended to avoid tracking, which clashes with her late start school plan. Why this morning still matters. Every unexplained case has a fixed window where the possible becomes a probable. For Rebecca, that window is 7 to 9:40. 7 o'clock, sister leaves. Rebecca plus brother-in-law are the only known people in the house. 7:46, last phone log on home Wi-Fi. 9:40, school begins its late start. Rebecca is absent, threaded through a Snapchat image, a purple blanket that vanishes, a car that moves at some point in the morning, and is later tied to eastbound motorway trips. Everything else, alleged sightings, bust memories, fails to hold up under camera review. The search corridor built from this timeline. Because of the A12 data points, the early large-scale searches concentrate east and southeast. Lakes, river margins, woodland cut-ins, quarry tracks where a small car might pull off briefly. Riders in Cummersdorf report a strange encounter around midday. Nothing comes of it. Police return again and again to Brandenburg clearings, dig lines, and pond edges, each time emerging with no definitive evidence. In subsequent years, investigators explored data requests to tech companies, and by 2023 even researched the family home area with acoustic tests, reportedly to examine whether strangulation would fit noise profiles in that space. A reminder how forensic tactics evolved long after day one. Narrative beats for your video, ready to read. Open cold. It's Monday in Berlin. The buses hum. The house in Brits is quiet. At 7:46 a.m., a phone says, "I'm still here." By 9:40, a seat in class is empty, and it will stay empty for years. Establish the cast and setting. Rebecca, 15, planning a normal day. Late start at school. Home, sister's couch, purple blanket. A living room where ordinary becomes extraordinary. Brother-in-law, returns 5:45, at home when the last Wi-Fi ping hit 7:46. The outfit and object montage. BTS rap monster hoodie, pink plush jacket, ripped jeans, black and white Vans, Vans backpack, pink handbag, MK purse, pink and Saks Mini 9, all missing with Rebecca. Clockwork tension build. 7:15 voicemail. 7:46 Wi-Fi last seen. 8:25 voicemail again. 9:40, no Rebecca at school. The car chapter. Present both neighborhood clip claims, time disputed, and a 12 motorway confirmations on February 18th and 19th. No good explanation provided. Emphasize uncertainty about the exact minute the car left that morning. Weather tone layer. A frosty dawn, mild noon. No rain. Lending weight to blanket puzzle. And outdoor sightings that didn't survive camera checks. Extreme weather watch. Close on the cliffhanger. Between 7 o'clock and 9:40, Berlin moves like any Monday. But for one family, the world stops. Did Rebecca step out into that gentle winter light? Or did the morning end inside the walls of Quiet House? Notes for respectful, factual delivery, on mic. Use neutral language about the brother-in-law. The main suspect per police, arrested and released twice for lack of evidence. Not convicted. Avoid stating guilt. Distinguish confirmed data, Wi-Fi time, missing items, a 12 trips. From contested claims, neighborhood clip timestamp, bus sightings. Anchor the audience with specific times and concrete objects. That's what keeps a 30-minute part tight and compelling. Sources used for this part, key facts. Timeline, sister leaves 7 o'clock. Phone last on Wi-Fi 746. Snapchat outfit. Late school start. Missing items. Homicide escalation. A 12 trips. Search geography. Investigator stance. TV appeal plus public tips volume. Neighborhood car clip examined. Prosecutors. No new findings. Later report timestamp discrepancy. Weather on February 18th, 2019, mild day, sub-zero dawn, dry. The investigation takes shape. Day 1. From missing teen to worry. When Rebecca's parents called the Berlin police on February 18th, 2019, they still hoped she had simply skipped school. But as the first day wore on, investigators noted several troubling facts. She had not taken her charger, had not called friends, and her seat at school remained empty. The typical signs of a runaway, a packed bag, cash taken, secret plans with friends, were absent. By that evening, concern was mounting. Day 2 and 3, an uncomfortable realization. By February 19th to 20th, police realized this was not a typical teenage disappearance. Rebecca's phone went dark after 7:46 on the 18th, never reconnecting to any network. For a 15-year-old who lived on her device, this was critical. She had not simply run away. Something prevented her from contacting anyone. At first, police quietly canvassed her route to school, bus stops, CCTV, local witnesses. A handful of people thought they saw Rebecca at bus stops or on the 171 bus, but camera checks along that route showed no confirmed images of her. Each sighting melted under scrutiny. That absence, the dog that didn't bark, was powerful. In a city covered with surveillance cameras, a teenager supposedly heading to school should have appeared somewhere. But she did not. Day 4, suspicion narrows. By February 21st, police began focus inside the house where Rebecca had slept, specifically on Florian R., her brother-in-law. Why? Last person known present. He was in the house after Rebecca's sister left at 7 o'clock. Phone data. Rebecca's phone was last logged into the Wi-Fi at 7:46, when only he was home. Car movements. His raspberry red Renault Twingo was later tracked on the A12 Autobahn toward Poland on the day Rebecca vanished, and again the following day. No clear reason was given. Police believed that if Rebecca had truly left for school, some trace would exist outside the house. Instead, the data trail pointed inward. The first arrest. On February 28th, 2019, 10 days after Rebecca vanished, police arrested Florian for the first time on suspicion of murder. Media outlets splashed his face and name across Germany. Investigators told reporters bluntly, "We do not believe Rebecca left the house alive." Searches intensified. Dozens of officers scoured forests, lakes, and roadsides along the A12 corridor toward Poland. Divers combed lakes near Brandenburg, and police dogs swept wooded areas around Kummersdorf and Grunheide. Helicopters flew overhead, scanning for disturbed ground or discarded clothing. For days, Berlin watched as convoys of police vans poured into the countryside, while volunteers stood at the edges of cordons hoping for news. Nothing was found. The release. Despite the public suspicion and exhaustive searches, prosecutors faced a problem: lack of evidence. There was no body, no forensic trace tying Florian to Rebecca's disappearance. On March 4th, 2019, he was released. The family was torn apart by this moment. Rebecca's mother and sister Jessica insisted Florian was innocent, standing by him publicly. Other relatives and much of the public were less certain. The family's private grief became a national spectacle, the Acton-Ziechen XY effect. On March 6, 2019, police took the unusual step of featuring Rebecca's case on the popular German crime show Acton-Ziechen XY Ungelöst, case number XY, Unsolved. The program, famous for generating public tips, aired Rebecca's picture, the timeline, and her last known clothing. The effect was immediate. Over 1,500 tips poured in from viewers across Germany. Some reported sightings of a girl who looked like Rebecca on trains, in shopping malls, or even abroad. Others claimed to have seen a raspberry red Renault in odd locations. Every tip had to be logged, cross-checked, and investigated, but none cracked the case. The second arrest. As pressure mounted, police again detained Florian later in March, citing urgent suspicion. But once more, the evidence was circumstantial. Suspicious trips, inconsistent statements, but nothing conclusive. Without DNA, without a body, without a weapon, prosecutors knew the case would not hold up in court. He was released again. The public reaction. By now, Rebecca's case was daily news. Newspapers ran front-page stories. TV stations carried live updates, and online forums buzzed with speculation. Two camps formed. Camp 1, those who believed Florian was guilty and that police simply hadn't found Rebecca's body. Camp 2, those who believed Rebecca had run away voluntarily, possibly to meet someone she knew online, and that the brother-in-law was being unfairly vilified. The case became not just a mystery, but a cultural debate about family loyalty, media pressure, and how society interprets circumstantial evidence. The search corridor. Throughout March, search efforts focused on the A12 Autobahn corridor toward Poland. Why there? Traffic cameras placed Florian's Renault there twice. Witnesses reported a raspberry red car parked in forest pull-offs near Kummersdorf. Two horseback riders described encountering a man behaving strangely in the woods that day. Still, no evidence of Rebecca was found. No clothing, no bag, no body. A case grows colder. By April 2019, the initial frenzy slowed. Searches became less frequent. Media coverage dropped from the front page. But investigators quietly maintained Rebecca's file as a suspected homicide. The family, however, refused to accept that she was dead. Her mother insisted Rebecca was alive somewhere, possibly abducted, possibly held against her will. She rejected the theory that Florian had harmed her. For investigators, the dilemma was brutal. A prime suspect with suspicious movements, but no conclusive proof. The shadow of doubt. As weeks turned to months, Rebecca's face, with her bright smile and teenage features, became a symbol across Germany. Posters with her photo stayed taped to lampposts long after the initial search faded. For the public, the story was heartbreaking. For the family, it was unbearable. For the investigators, it was unsolved. The search for Rebecca, forest lakes, and dead ends. The focus on Brandenburg. After Rebecca's disappearance on February 18, 2019, one question haunted Berlin police. If she didn't reach school, where did she go? Digital clues pointed investigators outside the city. Rebecca's brother-in-law's raspberry red Renault Twingo had been registered twice by traffic cameras on the A12 Autobahn, the road east from Berlin to the Polish border at Frankfurt-Oder. The car was seen on February 18th, the morning Rebecca disappeared. February 19th, the following day. Both trips were unexplained. That was enough for investigators to narrow their search zone. The forests and lakes of Brandenburg, an area of sprawling woodlands, ponds, and quiet backroads along the A12 corridor. First searches, Kummersdorf and the forest trails. By late February, police were combing the area around Kummersdorf, a wooded region about 50 kilometers southeast of Berlin. Why Kummersdorf? A witness claimed to have seen a raspberry red Twingo parked oddly in the area. Two horseback riders reported a strange encounter with a man in the forest around midday. These testimonies were thin, but in a case with so few leads, they carried weight. Hundreds of officers were mobilized. They swept the forest on foot using grid search methods. Police dogs trained to detect human remains were brought in. Riders described the unsettling man as nervous, moving in a way that caught their attention. Yet after days of searching, the woods yielded nothing. Lake searches, cold water, colder leads. By early March, divers were deployed into several lakes near the A-12. Brandenburg is dotted with small, deep lakes and ponds, many used as dumping grounds in past crimes. The image of divers descending into freezing water gripped German media. But diving operations are slow and costly. Each dive team combed murky lake beds, searching for any trace. Clothing, a blanket, a body. Nothing emerged. Later, police used sonar equipment to scan deeper lakes more efficiently. Again, nothing. The lake searches became symbolic, dramatic, televised, but ultimately fruitless. Fields, ditches, and drainage ponds. Officers didn't stop with lakes. They also dragged drainage ditches, combed farmland, and probed thickets along country roads. Police vehicles lined the Autobahn exits. Helicopters circled overhead. The public watched the spectacle unfold on nightly news broadcasts. Each time, hope flared. Maybe today they'll find Rebecca. Each time, hope faded. Nothing. The purple blanket theory. One detail kept resurfacing. The purple blanket missing from Rebecca's sister's house. Police theorized it may have been used to wrap or conceal her body. During searches in Brandenburg, investigators specifically asked the public to watch for signs of a discarded purple blanket. But despite posters, TV appeals, and massive sweeps, no blanket was found. Search volume, an extraordinary effort. Over the first 2 months, police logged over 1,500 tips from the public, most generated after the case aired on Acton Zeichen XY. Thousands of officer hours deployed across Berlin and Brandenburg. Dozens of search zones covering forests, fields, and lakes. By spring 2019, Rebecca's disappearance had become one of the largest search operations in Berlin police history. Yet no body, no clothing, no blanket, and no forensic trace ever surfaced. Arrest without closure. The searches were tied directly to the investigation of Florian, the brother-in-law. When he was arrested twice, searches in Brandenburg ramped up. When he was released twice, the searches slowed. The public saw the connection clearly. Investigators believed if Rebecca was dead, her body was hidden in Brandenburg, likely near the A-12. But proving that theory was another matter. The public debate. The repeated failures fueled public debate. Commentators asked, had police tunneled too narrowly on Florian and Brandenburg? Could Rebecca have left voluntarily, perhaps traveling further afield? Or was she killed, but her body hidden somewhere entirely different? Online forums buzzed with theories. Some insisted she had run away to meet someone she knew online. Others were convinced Florian was guilty, but had hidden her body too well. For the family, the endless searches with no result were torture. Each headline raised hope. Each no evidence found crushed it again. The case grows cold. By summer 2019, the large-scale search operations dwindled. Police continued to follow up tips, but the sight of convoys of officers combing forests became rare. Rebecca's case shifted from a visible, active manhunt to a cold, unresolved file. Investigators still labeled it a suspected homicide, but with no body and no proof, the case stagnated. The emotional toll. For Rebecca's parents, the Brandenburg searches were a cruel cycle of hope and heartbreak. They clung to the belief she might still be alive. Each time divers entered a lake, her mother prayed for an answer, even if it was the worst possible one. But time and again, silence was all they received. Her sister Jessica defended Florian, insisting publicly that he could not have harmed Rebecca. This stance divided opinion in Germany, where many saw him as guilty, while others viewed him as unfairly persecuted. The family lived under suspicion, grief, and unrelenting media attention. The legacy of the searches. The Brandenburg operations stand as a reminder of how massive search efforts can still produce no answers. Hundreds of officers, dogs, divers, helicopters, and yet nothing. The A-12 corridor, remains haunted by what might have happened there. Forest trails, quiet lakes, and roadside ditches still hold the possibility of secrets buried, waiting to be uncovered. But until something concrete is found, Rebecca's fate remains one of Germany's most haunting mysteries. Media frenzy and family division. The case becomes a national obsession. By early March 2019, Rebecca's face was everywhere. On posters at Berlin bus stops, across the front pages of tabloids, and in nightly TV news segments. She wasn't just another missing teenager. She had become a symbol of mystery, fear, and unresolved questions. The case had all the elements that captivate the public. A young, photogenic victim. A timeline full of holes. A family member under suspicion. A police investigation that seemed urgent but inconclusive. Rebecca's disappearance quickly moved from being a local missing person story to one of Germany's most watched true crime cases of the decade. The spotlight on Florian. Media attention focused relentlessly on Rebecca's brother-in-law, Florian R. Tabloid headlines painted him as the likely culprit. Newspapers published photos of his raspberry-red Renault Twingo. TV pundits dissected his statements. Online forums debated every known detail of his timeline. For Florian, life became a nightmare. He was arrested, interrogated, and released twice. But the shadow of suspicion never lifted. Even without formal charges, the court of public opinion had already judged him. This media storm put the Reusch family in a devastating bind. The family divided. Within the family, lines were drawn. Jessica, Rebecca's sister, Florian's wife, stood firmly by her husband. She insisted he was innocent and that the police were scapegoating him because they had no other leads. Rebecca's mother also defended Florian, saying publicly that she believed his innocence and that Rebecca was still alive somewhere. She refused to accept the police theory that her daughter had been killed inside the house. Other relatives, including extended family members, were less certain. Some believed investigators were right to focus on Florian. This division became public, and Germany watched as the Reusch family's private grief was torn apart on national television. The media's role. The German press played a double role. They kept the case alive in the public eye, ensuring Rebecca's face and name weren't forgotten. But they also sensationalized details, turning the disappearance into a spectacle that sometimes overshadowed the facts. Tabloids ran speculative headlines. Did Florian kill Rebecca? TV shows replayed grainy footage of the Renault Twingo on the Autobahn, even when timestamps were uncertain. Each new report triggered fresh waves of public debate, but rarely brought the case closer to resolution. Online theories and armchair detectives. On internet forums and social media, the case exploded. Thousands of amateur sleuths analyzed every available detail. The Wi-Fi ping at 746, the Snapchat photo, the missing blanket, the Autobahn trips. Some were convinced Florian was guilty. Others argued Rebecca had run away, possibly lured by someone she met online. Still others spun elaborate theories of abduction rings. The noise was deafening, and the family was caught in the middle. For Rebecca's parents, each rumor was painful. For investigators, the flood of speculation sometimes created false leads that wasted resources. The human cost. The frenzy took a toll on everyone. Rebecca's parents struggled under the constant glare of media cameras outside their home. Jessica and Florian faced brutal public scrutiny, with neighbors and strangers whispering about guilt. Rebecca's sisters found themselves split between protecting their loved ones and searching for the truth. Even as the case grew colder, the attention never truly went away. Every anniversary of Rebecca's disappearance brought another surge of headlines, another round of interviews, another reopening of old wounds. Police versus family narrative. Perhaps the most painful divide was between police and family. Police maintained, "We do not believe Rebecca left the house alive." They called it a suspected homicide. Family countered, "Rebecca is alive. She was taken. She will come home." This clash made it difficult for the public to know whom to believe. Was this a tragic but simple story of domestic violence and murder? Or was it an unsolved abduction with hope still alive? Why the public stayed hooked. Rebecca's case endured because it touched on something universal. The fear of a loved one vanishing without explanation. The family drama, The media spotlight and the unresolved ending created mystery that refused to fade. To this day, the disappearance of Rebecca Reusch remains not only a police case, but also a cultural story, one where grief, loyalty, and suspicion collide under the spotlight of mass media. Theories, leads, and why the case remains unsolved. The central mystery. Rebecca's disappearance sits on a razor's edge between data points we know and the unknown gaps in between. Last seen, Snapchat image and Wi-Fi ping at 7:46 a.m. on February 18th. Supposed destination. School in Gropiusstad, starting at 9:40. Reality. She never arrived, and there is no CCTV or eyewitness confirmation of her outside the house. Key suspicion. The brother-in-law's unexplained car trips on February 18th and 19th, east on the A12 Autobahn. Yet even with these anchors, no charges have ever been secured. Why? Because the evidence is circumstantial, not forensic. Theory 1. Murder inside the house. This is the theory police lean on most heavily. They have stated publicly, "We do not believe Rebecca left the house alive." Supporting points. Rebecca's phone last active on home Wi-Fi when only her brother-in-law was in the house. His car movements on February 18th and 19th. No CCTV evidence of Rebecca leaving for school. Weaknesses. No body. No blood, fingerprints, or forensic evidence tying Florian to a crime. Without physical proof, prosecutors cannot win in court. This theory explains the silence, but suffers from the absence of hard evidence. Theory 2. Rebecca ran away. Some believe Rebecca may have left voluntarily to meet someone, possibly an online contact. Supporting points. She took a bag, her Fujifilm Instax camera, and some personal belongings. Teenagers sometimes keep secrets from parents. Witnesses claim to see her at a bus stop or on the 171 bus. Weaknesses. Her phone, the lifeline of any teenager, went dark permanently after 7:46. No CCTV confirmed her presence on buses or at stops. Running away usually means contacting friends eventually. Rebecca never did. This theory appeals to those who doubt Florian's guilt, but it clashes with the silence of her digital footprint. Theory 3. Stranger abduction. Another possibility is that Rebecca left for school and encountered someone who abducted her. Supporting points. Cases of abductions do happen, though rare. Witness reports of seeing her outside could support this. Weaknesses. No CCTV or hard evidence she ever left the house. Stranger abductions are statistically rare, especially in daylight on a school morning. While possible, this theory struggles against the absence of proof she even left Brits. Theory 4. A cover-up. Some speculate Rebecca may have died accidentally. Perhaps an overdose, accident, or sudden health crisis, and that someone in the house panicked and covered it up. Supporting points. Would explain why no body was found near home. It could have been transported later. Might fit with the odd car trips. Weaknesses. No forensic trace of an accident. No sign of drug use or illness reported in Rebecca's life. This theory sits in between. Less sinister than murder, more intentional than running away. But again, it lacks evidence. The A12 mystery. The Autobahn 12 toward Poland remains the strongest physical lead. Twice in 2 days, Florian's car was recorded there. Police searched forest lakes and roadside ditches. Witnesses recalled a red Twingo parked strangely near Kummersdorf. 2 horseback riders reported a nervous man in the woods. And yet, nothing. The A12 has become symbolic. The road to nowhere, the search corridor of unanswered questions. Why prosecutors couldn't charge. Twice, Florian was arrested. Twice, he was released. The reason is simple. In Germany, as in most countries, circumstantial evidence alone is not enough. No body means no proof of death. No forensic evidence means no proof of crime. No witnesses means no proof of involvement. Prosecutors knew a case built only on car trips and suspicion would collapse in court. So the file remains open but frozen. The internet's role. Rebecca's case became one of Germany's most discussed mysteries online. Thousands of amateur sleuths posted theories. Some claimed she was trafficked, others that she was still alive abroad. Every tip generated hope, but most wasted police time. This flood of speculation blurred the line between fact and rumor, making it harder for investigators to control the narrative. Why the case remains unsolved. At its heart, Rebecca's case is unsolved because of one brutal fact. There is no evidence of what happened after 7:46. Everything else, the car trips, the blanket, the witness claims, is interpretation, not proof. Police may believe Rebecca was killed inside the house, but without her body, they cannot prove it. Her family may believe she is alive, but without a trace of her online or in person, they cannot prove that either. The silence of that morning has lasted more than 5 years. The family's ongoing fight, hope versus despair, living in the unknown. For families of missing persons, the greatest cruelty is not knowing. Grief has no closure. Hope has no rest. This has been a reality for the Reusch family since February 18, 2019. Every day since that Monday morning, they have lived with two competing truths. The police narrative, that Rebecca likely died in the house and was hidden by someone she trusted. Their family belief that Rebecca is alive somewhere, waiting to be found. This tension has defined their lives for over 5 years. A mother's refusal to accept. Rebecca's mother, Bridget, has been one of the loudest voices defending Florian's innocence. She has given interviews declaring she does not believe her daughter was murdered. She insists Rebecca is alive, perhaps abducted or lured away. For her, believing police means burying both her daughter and her son-in-law at once. So she clings to hope. She keeps Rebecca's bedroom intact. Clothes folded, bed untouched, posters on the wall, as though Betsy might walk in at any moment. A sister's defense. Rebecca's sister Jessica has stood by her husband, Florian, through years of suspicion. She insists he is innocent, that police focused too narrowly and ignored other possibilities. This public defense divided opinion in Germany. Some saw it as loyalty, others saw denial. But for Jessica, it was also survival. Defending her husband meant protecting her own family while still grieving for her sister. A father's quiet grief. Rebecca's father has been less vocal but deeply affected. He described his youngest daughter as our sunshine and her absence as an unhealed wound. Fathers often grieve quietly, but his pain has been no less sharp. He has carried the weight of suspicion, media cameras, and endless anniversaries. The family divided. Not all relatives agreed with Bridget and Jessica. Some extended family members privately sided with police, believing Florian may have been involved. This left the Reusch family fractured. Some clinging to hope, others resigned to loss. The case became not just mystery, but a fault line splitting the family itself. Public pressure. Every year, around February 18th, media outlets revisit Rebecca's story. Each anniversary brings interviews, renewed debates, and headlines asking the same painful question. Where is Rebecca? For the family, these anniversaries are unbearable. Each one is a reminder that time is passing, but answers are not coming. Each one reopens wounds that never had the chance to heal. The burden of rumors. The constant media frenzy and online speculation took a heavy toll. Rumors spread faster than facts, and the family often found themselves reading cruel comments or baseless theories. Some strangers accused them of covering up. Others insisted Rebecca was alive and simply choosing not to return. These narratives only deepen the family's suffering. Clinging to hope. Despite everything, Rebecca's family refuses to let her memory fade. They speak her name often, keep her pictures visible, and remind the world she is more than a headline. Her mother has said, "I feel it in my heart. She is alive." Hope may be fragile, but it is also powerful. It has carried the Reusch family through years of silence. The emotional toll. The longer a person is missing, the harder it becomes to balance hope and despair. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss. When a loved one is gone but not confirmed dead, it leaves families stuck between grieving and waiting, unable to do either fully. For Rebecca's family, this ambiguous loss defines their everyday, why they continue to speak. The Reusch family continues to give interviews and keep Rebecca's case alive because silence feels like surrender. Every time they speak her name, they remind the public and investigators that Rebecca is still missing, that she still matters. Even if years pass, the family insists they will not stop searching. Legacy and reflection, a case that refuses to fade. Some disappearances vanish from the headlines after a few weeks. Rebecca Reusch's is not. Years later, her name still returns to the front pages of German newspapers. Her face still appears on television each February. Her story still circulates online forums, true crime podcasts, and YouTube videos like yours. Why? Because Rebecca's disappearance embodies all the unanswered questions that terrify us. How can a teenager vanish from a city like Berlin in broad daylight? How can thousands of police hours, divers, helicopters, and dogs produce nothing? How can a family be split between believing in guilt and defending innocence? The silence around her disappearance is as loud as the searches ever were. Rebecca as a symbol. Rebecca is not just a name in a file. She has become a symbol of three things. The vulnerability of the young. At 15, she had her whole life ahead of her, dreams of fashion, friends, and travel. Her story reminds us how fragile adolescence can be, the agony of not knowing. Her parents live in perpetual limbo. Every family of a missing person sees themselves in the Reusch family's pain. The limits of justice. Without evidence, without a body, without forensic proof, even the strongest suspicions cannot become convictions. Rebecca's case shows how the law protects the innocent, but sometimes also leaves families without answers. Impact on Germany. Rebecca's case sparked nationwide discussions about how police handle missing teens, too often dismissed as runaways in the first critical hours. The role of media, keeping cases alive, but also sensationalizing and dividing families. The burden of circumstantial evidence. Should suspicion alone allow a trial? It also drew attention to the A12 Autobahn corridor, now infamous in German true crime culture, as the road where Rebecca disappeared. A case that lives online. In the age of social media, Rebecca's disappearance has taken on a digital afterlife. Thousands of forum threads still analyze her case. YouTube creators, podcasters, and bloggers continue to retell her story. Each retelling keeps her name alive, but also spawns new theories, some compassionate, others cruel. Her story has become both a cautionary tale and an unsolved puzzle people cannot stop trying to solve. The family's legacy. For the Reusch family, Rebecca's legacy is deeply personal. Her mother refuses to accept death, keeping her room intact, clinging to hope. Her sister defends her husband. Her father grieves quietly. But for all of them, Rebecca remains alive in memory. The girl who made them laugh, the sunshine of the household, the teenager who wanted to see the world. What Rebecca's story teaches us. At its heart, Rebecca's disappearance teaches us. Absence is powerful. Sometimes it's not what is found, but what is missing that defines a story. Truth can be elusive. Even in the modern age of surveillance cameras and digital footprints, someone can still vanish. Hope survives. Even after years, her family has not given up. Final reflection. On February 18, 2019, Rebecca Reusch woke up on her sister's couch, wrapped in a purple blanket, wearing her favorite BTS hoodie, preparing for what should have been a normal school day. She never arrived. She has never been seen again. In those few hours between dawn and mid-morning, something happened that Germany still cannot explain. Rebecca's story is not just about her disappearance. It's about the pain of her family, the frustration of investigators, and the collective memory of a nation. It's about the unanswered questions that keep us awake at night, the mysteries that haunt us because they could happen to anyone. Her mother's words still echo. I feel it in my heart. She is alive. Until there is proof otherwise, Rebecca remains both missing and alive in the hearts of those who refuse to forget her.